World War II, 1939 to 1945, was one of the most significant and devastating conflicts in human history. It involved most of the world's nations and caused enormous loss of life and widespread destruction. Below is a detailed breakdown of the war, background and causes. Several factors contributed to the outbreak of World War II. Treaty of Versailles, 1919. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles placed heavy reparations and territorial losses on Germany. This caused economic hardship and resentment among Germans, fueling the rise of extreme nationalism. Rise of totalitarian regimes. Germany. Adolf Hitler, leader of the Nazi Party, capitalized on the economic crisis and national humiliation. He became chancellor in 1933 and quickly established a fascist dictatorship. His expansionist ideology, which aimed to create a greater Germany, included the persecution of Jews and other minorities. Italy. Under Benito Mussolini, Italy also adopted a fascist government, seeking to revive the glory of the Roman Empire. Japan. Militaristic leaders in Japan sought to expand their empire in Asia, starting with the invasion of Manchuria in 1931. Failure of the League of Nations. The League of Nations, created after World War I to prevent further conflicts, was ineffective in stopping aggressive acts by countries like Japan, Italy, and Germany. Appeasement policy. Western powers, especially Britain and France, initially followed a policy of appeasement, allowing Hitler to annex Austria and parts of Czechoslovakia in the hope of avoiding war. Expansionism. Germany's invasion of Poland on September 1, 1939, led Britain and France to declare war on Germany, marking the start of World War II. Major theaters of war. 1. European theater. Blitzkrieg, 1939 to 1941. Hitler used a new military strategy called Blitzkrieg or Lightning War, which combined fast-moving tanks, mechanized infantry, and air power to overwhelm enemies. Germany quickly conquered Poland, Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and France by mid-1940. France fell in just 6 weeks, leading to the Vichy regime in the southern part of the country. Britain, under Prime Minister Winston Churchill, remained the only major Allied power left in Europe. Hitler's Battle of Britain, July to October 1940, was an air campaign aimed at forcing Britain to surrender, but the Royal Air Force successfully defended the country. Operation Barbarossa, 1941. On June 22, 1941, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, breaking the non-aggression pact between Germany and the USSR. The German forces made rapid gains, but they were eventually halted by the harsh winter and Soviet resistance, particularly during the Battle of Stalingrad, 1942 to 1943, a major turning point. 2. Pacific Theater. Japanese expansion. Japan aimed to dominate Asia and the Pacific. It invaded China in 1937, Second Sino-Japanese War, and tensions with Western powers, particularly the US, escalated over Japan's ambitions in Southeast Asia. On December 7, 1941, Japan attacked the US naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, bringing the United States into the war. Japan then quickly conquered territories across Southeast Asia and the Pacific, including the Philippines, Indonesia, and parts of New Guinea. 3. North African and Mediterranean theaters. In North Africa, German and Italian forces fought against British and Allied troops. The famous German commander Erwin Rommel, known as the Desert Fox, led the Africa Corps in battles like El Alamein, 1942, where the Allies, under British General Bernard Montgomery, won a decisive victory. The Allies also invaded Italy in 1943, leading to Mussolini's downfall and Italy's surrender. Turning points. Battle of Stalingrad, 1942 to 1943. This brutal battle between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union marked a decisive turning point in the Eastern Front. The German Sixth Army was surrounded and destroyed, marking the first major defeat for the Nazis. Battle of Midway, 1942, in the Pacific, the US Navy achieved a major victory against Japan at the Battle of Midway, destroying 4 Japanese aircraft carriers and shifting the balance of power in the Pacific. D-Day, 1944, on June 6, 1944, the Allies launched Operation Overlord, the largest amphibious invasion in history, on the beaches of Normandy, France. This invasion, known as D-Day, led to the liberation of France and paved the way for the Allies to advance into Nazi-occupied Europe. The Holocaust. One of the darkest aspects of World War II was the Holocaust, the systematic genocide carried out by Nazi Germany. Hitler's regime sought to exterminate Jews, Romani people, disabled individuals, and other groups considered undesirable. Around 6 million Jews were murdered in concentration camps, ghettos, and through mass shootings. The Holocaust remains a stark reminder of the horrors of racial hatred and authoritarianism. End of the war. Germany's defeat, 1945, the Allies advanced into Germany from both the East, Soviet Union, and West, USA, Britain, and France. In May 1945, after Berlin was captured by Soviet forces and Hitler committed suicide, Germany surrendered. This is known as V-Day, Victory in Europe Day, on May 8, 1945. Japan's defeat, 1945, despite significant losses, Japan refused to surrender. The US dropped 2 atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima, August 6, and Nagasaki, August 9, in 1945, leading to Japan's surrender on August 15, 1945, VJ Day. Consequences and aftermath. Human cost. World War II caused an estimated 70 to 85 million deaths, around 3% of the world's population at the time. Millions of civilians were displaced, cities were destroyed, and entire populations were uprooted. United Nations, UN. After the war, the United Nations was established in 1945 to promote peace and prevent future conflicts. The UN replaced the ineffective League of Nations and remains a major international organization. Cold War. The division of Germany and Europe into Soviet-controlled East and Western democratic states laid the foundation for the Cold War, a prolonged period of geopolitical tension between the US and the Soviet Union that lasted until 1991. Global restructuring. The Marshall Plan was implemented by the US to rebuild war-torn Europe, and the post-war world saw the rise of the US and the Soviet Union as superpowers. The war also accelerated the decolonization process, as many countries in Asia and Africa gained independence from European powers in the following decades. Nuremberg trials. After the war, key Nazi leaders were prosecuted for war crimes during the Nuremberg trials, 1945 to 1946. These trials established legal precedents for prosecuting crimes against humanity. World War II dramatically reshaped the global order and continues to influence international relations, politics,